Hello, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. I am at the Four Winds, I think it's called, resort in Bloomington. I got to come down here to spend some time with my daughters for Father's Weekend. And there was a buffet here on Sunday, and I just thought I would stay over an extra day to do some writing, as I'm prone to do. It was a beautiful day, but I am tired, and I'm going to whip this video out and get on the road, get home. The video today is called Ownership and Gratitude, Antidotes for Victim Mentality. I want to start with a quote. Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you. That's a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. This subject of narcissists and monsters and sociopaths and psychopaths has been interesting. It sort of seems to have hit a collective note with many of you. I noticed my last two videos have been getting more views and having more comments probably than any that I've ever had. And the comments are sort of community related. It's like somebody will say something and then people start talking back and forth, which is really cool. So there's been a lot of support and a lot of community because people have been hurt deeply. And I'm going to go a little bit different direction than what I've been going because there are two truths. One truth is the thing that I always hit on. I'm going to be hitting it hard today, and that is, there are no victims in relationships. There just aren't, and I'm going to talk about it. And that's a very freeing concept. But it's also true that the world is filled with some dangerous people and some hurtful people. So, I hope these words will find some lonely, isolated souls who are suffering in the darkness. A darkness of their nightmarish abandonment wounds. I've talked with a lot of people who suffer from abandonment wounds, and we say the same thing, and it's like, I can't believe this is my life. This person who was in my life, who I loved, is gone, and I can't believe they're gone. I've been wrestling with a new, somewhat dark energy, and it's potentially somewhat messy. It's not so much the shattering, monumentally torturous abandonment, grief, and sadness that has been my constant companion since April 26th, when my fiance informed me that she had a double life. That I can handle, just barely. It's not so much the huge ball of anxiety that's in my chest and my trembling hands, which are trembling less and less these days. But what's been coming up lately is anger. In her very powerful book, The Journey from Abandonment to Healing, which I highly recommend to anybody with abandonment issues, Susan Anderson teaches that a turning point in the abandonment grief process can occur when something in you starts to fight back. Rather than just feeling sad and powerless and self-blaming and crying all the time, you uncharacteristically begin to feel raw surges of anger about your abandonment, about how it was done, about the ruthlessness and the cruelty of it. Agitated depression and spurts of ugly anger might be vomited upon your friends and family. So watch out, friends and family. You might also indulge in delicious revenge and retaliation fantasies about the tormentor of your soul. Left to run wild on its own, your abandonment rage could even become active, very active, negative, and potentially even self-destructive. Anger is a normal, healthy energy that can be a very large part of your recovery process. But if anger isn't handled properly, it can quickly turn poisonous. There are some foods in the world that can turn poisonous if they're not cooked properly. I don't know if you knew this. In her medicaldaily.com article, 5 healthy foods that can turn deadly if prepared incorrectly, Dana Dovey writes, and she starts with a quote, "Cooking is like love. It should be entered into with abandon or not at all." Sort of a funny quote given our abandonment issue love theme. This said Harriet Van Horn, the 20th century American journalist. In an age where the amount of time preparing food is becoming smaller and smaller, this beautiful art is quickly falling out of fashion, the art of cooking. What many do not realize is that how you cook a dish doesn't just enhance its flavor, but it might just save your life or save your health. Here's a rundown on the foods where preparation can be the difference between a full belly and a trip to the ER. And that would be chia seeds, kale, red kidney beans, rhubarb, and something called ackee, which I have no idea what that is. But those 5 healthy foods, you could poison yourself. And so it is with anger. Anger is healthy. It can give you empowerment. As I've sort of been thrashing around in my efforts to find healthy ways or healthy methods to convert my growing anger energy into something that's proactive and healthy and respectful and life-affirming and a force of gratitude that would move me along my grieving journey while keeping everybody around me emotionally safe and out of reach of any victim-y projectile vomiting that I've could be prone to do from time to time. During this process, I've gotten a wide variety of somewhat conflicting feedback. And I believe there's a bit of wisdom and truth in each of these collections of ideas of where to go with anger. They include the following. Number 1, dude, it's stupid to put any energy at all into grieving the loss of that sick relationship with such a addictive, hurtful, crazy, narcissistic person. And I think the actual quote from this fellow was, "Fuck Betsy." Some truth in that you don't want your tormentor renting space in your head 24/7. Second thing, since you actually do have some physiological trauma in your body, you can discharge a great deal of anger by hitting a punching bag or screaming loudly when you're driving. I did this early on in my recovery, and the problem was I drive a convertible. So if I scream loudly, it could scare the people next to me. So I try to do it when the top is up. Another theory I've heard is you should be thrilled with having escaped from the clutches of such a dangerous emotional vampire who's been sucking you dry of your emotional pain and your money for years. Some truth to that. If I was a Holocaust survivor, just right after the war, I'd be thrilled to have gotten out of the concentration camp, but I'd be really messed up, and I wouldn't be throwing any parties about how I'm celebrating. But there is some truth to be glad you got away from somebody so dangerous. Another thing I hear is, if you're really spiritual, if you're a really good Christian, you'd be able to forgive this person and turn the other cheek. And I think forgiveness is a process that takes some time. Another thing I've heard is spend time in meditation. Truth in that. Do yoga. Truth in that. Another thing I've heard is make a conscious choice to be in your high-functioning adult self rather than being stuck crying and whining from your abandoned little boy self. I think there's some truth to that. It's fine to grieve and cry and to be in your little boy or little girl self, but if you're there all the time, it can be crippling. So as I said, I believe there is some truth in each of these strategies, and I'll be writing about some of them in the future. I might do a video of me hitting the punching bag. I got a punching bag. I've been smacking it around pretty hard. So I need all the help I can get, and so anything that works, I'm going to grab hold of it and work it. So bear with me here. It's a little ironical, but actually the most helpful chunk of insight that I'm working on trying to choke down and digest and live out is from some knucklehead therapist, actually named Mark Smith, who quotes themselves, but a narcissist. But I've been given a really gut-wrenching opportunity to practice what I've always preached, and that is there are no victims in relationships and in love. That your relationship pain is truly a gift, and that we choose and arrange for exactly what we need in our relationships in order to heal the wounded little kids at our cores. That's what I preach. Due to trauma wounds that are very intense, it's much easier to say that than to apply that to your situation. But it does apply to your situation. Taking ownership for your choices and then practicing heartfelt gratitude is absolutely, positively the best antidote for being stuck in overly excruciating, victim-y, angry abandonment pain. Whatever your pain is, however you were abandoned, whatever your trauma wounds that you have sustained, I assure you that there are still no victims ever in love, and that your relationship pain is a gift, and that you did unconsciously choose and arrange for exactly what you needed in your relationships to heal that wounded little kid at your core. There is a rhyme and a reason to emotional wounding in romantic love. It doesn't matter how monumental your pain is. It just didn't randomly happen to you. You didn't get bad luck. No one has the power to victimize you relationally without your full cooperation and without your full, it might be full too, complicity. Mother Nature is intent on knocking down your defense mechanisms to get at your most primitive childhood emotional wounds, and she uses romantic love gone very much afoul in order to do it. It may seem here that I'm blaming myself a bit much. It may seem here that I'm being hard on myself and taking responsibility for these things, but that's not the case, seriously. The devil can't come in your house and sit there and have tea and cookies unless you invite the devil in. You have unconsciously but deliberately chosen to put yourself in harm's way due to the universe's design. And that's a much more powerful and accurate framing of what relationship pain is than just randomly, psychologically being violated, being victimized by the bad guys, by the bad women who are afoot in this world, and there are many of them afoot in this world. So the following is how I specifically arranged or set myself up for really the slaughtering of my psychological defense mechanisms and the deep and profound healing opportunity for my wounded little boy. If you're suffering from bitterness, from resentment, from rage, from victim mentality, I encourage you to take ownership for what you did, the choices you made to put yourself into harm's way, specifically how you recruited the wrong person in order to reenact your childhood drama. Myself, there are approximately, I believe, about 4 billion women on the planet, and I, the smart supposed therapist who's written books on affair recovery, invited a very dangerous, narcissistic, active love and sex addict into my heart and into my home. In September of 2008, I was feeling empty, I was feeling sad, I was feeling lonely due to the ending of a 27-year marriage that I addictively and blatantly rushed into. That, I rushed into this supposedly committed relationship that turned out to be not so committed. And I rushed into it in a total of 2 dates, Friday night and Saturday night on one weekend, and boom, I was in a relationship. And I had no idea the true character of this woman. But I was needy, and she was pretty, and she had long legs, and she seemed to dig me. So I signed on, and I was way too naive about the nature of love, about the nature of Match.com, about the nature of this particular woman. In my favorite movie called The Silence of the Lambs, which was her favorite movie as well, if that tells you anything about us, there was some killer dialogue about the nature of people. This is Hannibal Lecter in his cell trying to give a clue to Clarice Starling. Hannibal says, "First principles, Clarice. Simplicity. Read Marcus Aurelius. Of each particular thing, ask, what is it in itself? What is its nature? What does he do, this man you seek?" Clarice says, "He kills women." Hannibal Lecter says, "No, that is incidental. What is the first and the principal thing that he does? What needs does he serve by killing?" Clarice says, anger, social acceptance, sexual frustration. Hannibal's saying, "No, he covets. That is his nature." I love that scene. We would do good to ask ourselves what is the true nature of the people we date? You better ask that, and you better keep your eyes open. If you were wounded in a particular way and there seems to be a pattern in your relationship history, keep your eyes open and your head up. I did not understand at all whom or what this woman was within herself, but it was my responsibility to protect me. Nobody else was going to do it. It turned out that her very nature was to lie and cheat and not have sexual boundaries and covet and need attention from another man, to horribly lack empathy, to abandon, to cut off violently and ruthlessly, to be overflowing with shame, to be a betrayer, to be two-faced, to use people, and to rage like a banshee. My romantic radar unconsciously knew all of these things about her. And that's why I was so deeply and so blindly and so instantly in love or attracted to her. My lovely late mother was very colorful. She was fun. She was spontaneous, but she was also very self-centered. And she was a notorious rager. She was a consummate liar. She was a thief. She spent some time in jail for misappropriating funds in a public office. She was unfaithful to my absent father, I think, many times. She was financially unstable. She was very controlling. She was abusive. She was arrogant. She was extroverted. She was two-faced, and she was really scary. Can you see the pattern there? I needed to work on the abandonment wounds from my mother going all the way back to infancy. And I knew that's what love was. And I knew that I was attracted to women like this. So it's easy. It's easy to fall in love. Love is blind and it's very unerring. I needed a clone of my mother hidden in the body of a pretty hot 37-year-old. What I got is love to me, and it's on me. Nobody victimizes you. What you got in love, it's on you. And that's excellent news, because nobody can victimize you. It was your responsibility to protect yourself, to vet, and to ensure that the people you open your heart to are genuinely safe. If a monster wounded you when you were a little child, you're going to fall in love with monsters. I wish it wasn't so, but it is. So you really have to be deliberate and careful and pick a minor monster who can do the work. It's about as good as it gets. Thankfully, this naivety thing I've been pretty well cured of. So I think you get the picture. If you got run over by a Mack truck, it's because you were out there playing in traffic with no fear whatsoever of the consequences. 3 times I discarded this damaged, scary woman and put her out of my house, and 3 times my wounded, needy little boy went and sought her back and brought her back into my life and home. I wasn't ready yet to let go of the work. I left a good marriage with a fine woman because I had this itch that needed scratched to date this type of woman. Monstrous mommy clones. That's what I found attractive. During one break in this relationship with this scary woman, I went out and found a very beautiful Very good, very safe woman. I made a list of 40 qualities I was looking for in a woman, and she fit 38 of them. And she was lovely and wonderful, and I dropped her cold after a couple of months, and I ran back to Betsy because she was put together in such a way that I needed her to be put together. So I went back to what turned out to be a very vicious abandoner. It's good to examine what you did and what you could do differently. My great relational sin was my mind-boggling obliviousness. I was sort of carelessly fiddling while Rome was burning down all around me. When my unfaithful fiance all but officially announced, "Hey, I'm having an affair with this guy," 3 years ago, I couldn't deal with it, so I just stuck my head in the sand. Reality was just too horrific for me to deal with, so I just blotted it out of my mind. Because I had never been loved deeply and well and passionately, I couldn't tell the difference between a service being rendered well and genuine love, romance, and sexual passion. I hate to admit that, but I think it's true. None of these things were my fault. I'm not saying any of this is your fault. I'm saying that it's your responsibility. I signed up for what I got, and it was fair. I picked up a snake every day for 6.5 years, and it bit me each and every day, and it filled my system with poison, and it about killed me. But it's the very nature of a snake to bite. You know what? Gratitude beats bitterness. You can get bitter or you can get better. Gratitude beats victimy rage by a long shot. There's a peace in knowing and owning your own stuff. I'm grateful for the opportunity to heal my deepest childhood wounds. Or let me say, I know that it's healthy and that it's right thinking, and I'm working on consistently ingraining that in my everyday life. It's easy when you have trauma to get raw and victimy, but I know, and you know, that gratitude is by far the best avenue and the thing that will free you. And it's true. What I'm saying is true. My sweet, oblivious father was naive. He was passive. He was gone a lot. He was cheated on, lied to, raged at, sad, broken, soft, introverted, powerless, and it wasn't his nature to even hurt a fly. And I was very much like him, but I didn't know. I didn't have an idea. I thought I was Superman, but I was my old passive, broken dad in all reality. I was an innocent babe in a very dark wood. My wise recovery friend, which I quote often, Pilar, says, if you embrace your relationship pain and take responsibility for your part of the plot, it can transmute your horror into pure gold for yourself and others. It can transmute your horror into pure gold. Dang, wish I'd have said that. That's good stuff. She also said that she has tons of gratitude historically for her tormentors because they made her into a warrior, a wise one, and a being of light. The Bible says in Ephesians 4:26, be angry, but sin not. And that's hard to do. Your anger is good, and it's empowering, and you got to be careful with it because it can quickly turn poisonous if it's not built upon owning your own relationship responsibilities, understanding how your issues are reenacted in your romantic life, and staying the heck away from camping around victim mentality. These concepts are very, very good medicine, but they can be hard to swallow. Believe me, I know. If you'd like to do more work on this particular issue, I encourage you to watch the playlist Uprooting Victim Mentality at Family Tree Counseling on YouTube. Be grateful. Be a warrior. Be angry, but sin not. If you haven't visited our website, you can visit familytreecounseling.com. I've got 6 books, 2 of which you can get for free. familytreecounseling.com. Got a great book on abandonment, a great book on shame. Also, if you haven't subscribed, we just passed this week, we passed 500,000 views. And, you know, if you're Justin Bieber or whatever that guy's name is, that's pretty small numbers, but for us, we're pretty excited about it. And we're over 4,500 people, 4,700 subscribed. So subscribe, and we put our hearts into the work. And I hope this video found some of the people who are sad and isolated and needed some encouragement. You're not a victim. You will get better. You will get stronger. You will find joy. Or so I tell myself as I move through this journey, putting one foot in front of another. Thank you for watching, and God bless.